Welcome back to It's My World. Y'all are just living in it. My name's Anelise. This is Living Volumes. Today we're talking about how I overcame existential depression without therapy or medication. Disclaimer, I did try both and both did not work. So let's get into exactly why and then what worked instead. So I have always been a very spiritual person since day one of my existence. My parents are as Catholic as they come, culturally speaking. Other than that, I wasn't really raised with any major religious or spiritual beliefs, practices, none of it. So because I've always been spiritual, I've always been curious of the meaning and the purpose of life, and in my world with my upbringing, the answers were not really satisfactory. On top of that, my parents got divorced when I was in elementary school. That just added a whole other layer of, why am I here? My parents don't even love each other. What was the point of me being born? Etc., etc. Cue existential depression. So from there, I just remember feeling like there's literally no point. Why am I here? Why even bother? And, no one had any answers for me. There was nothing satisfactory. It wasn't really something that, my parents were concerned about, if you will. Whatever. They had their hands full with a lot of different issues. I went to therapy on and off when I was young, and then once I reached adulthood, I started going more regularly for a couple of years. And at first it was like, oh, this is really helpful. It felt amazing to have someone validate my feelings, because that's something I didn't have. And there were some, kind of strategies that were helpful. But over time, I started to realize and notice that, I would leave crying every week from therapy. And there's just always another painful story to work through or to rehash. Or to, we just could talk about the same stories over and over again, look at them from a different angle, etc. So, over the next couple of years, I went to therapy decently regularly. And what I started to notice is, A, it's expensive. It's an expensive treatment. And then B, I started to notice after a certain point that my therapist was just kind of telling me, you should be over it by now. The strategies stopped being helpful. The rehashing stopped being helpful, and she was just kind of like, why are we still talking about this? That was the energy I was getting. So I decided to stop going, and from there the next step was to try medication, because it wasn't working. Still sad. Gotta be a chemical imbalance. Let's try to address it that way. So I went and I got on medication, and it was fine. It improved my symptoms. It did. But there were also side effects that I did not enjoy. My zest for life, my libido, all of that absolutely tanked. It dulled every sensation, not just the bad ones. And so I'm just kind of in this neutral, very apathetic state almost. It's really not that different from this depressed feeling of why am I here? It's just more of, I don't care. Okay, I'll just live, I'll just do my thing. It was really helpful for giving me enough space to figure out what I wanted to do next, but it was not the answer, if you will. So after a certain point, it still was just kind of I don't want to be on this for the rest of my life. Let's keep working on it. So I decided to get off of it, and I did not do it under medical supervision. I just completely cold turkeyed it because I forgot for a couple of days for whatever reason, and I'm like, oh, this must be the perfect time. Let's just go ahead and do it. So that was really kind of brutal. I felt horrible for a little minute. I did not feel good at all. But then I kind of started coming out of it, and things started to improve, and I started to do better, and I had been going to the gym, and I continued going to the gym, and I was doing yoga, and I continued doing yoga, and I was getting outside, getting sun on my face. I continued to do that. I had friends and relationships in my life that brought me joy. I continued to spend time with them, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh hey, I think I'm good. I think I'm okay. And so this sobriety, if you will, seemed very successful. But I have to say, there are a few things that I implemented along with cutting out the medication. I added things in that were extremely beneficial to every facet of my health. And I already mentioned one of those, which is working out. Lifting weights has been an absolute, complete and total game changer in every part of my life. It makes me sleep better, it makes me eat better, it makes me feel better in my body just on a day-to-day, like sitting here, having worked out yesterday, I feel better right now just sitting than I would if I had not gone. And when I go to the gym, I do strength training, which is lifting weights, and I lift heavy weights. I do about an hour's worth of working out, and I focus on one certain muscle group, and I just grind it out for that 1 hour in the gym, and then I go about the rest of my life as normal. I will say that working out in this way makes you incredibly hungry. Like, do not be surprised if you feel like you could eat like 3 meals at one time. I've been known to eat a 2,000 calorie meal after I've had a crazy workout like that. Along with working out at the gym, I also do 10 minutes at the sauna every time I go. I'm not going to be bringing you any science right now. That's not really my thing. This is my personal experience only. But I have found that my body and my person has a certain amount of energy coursing through it every single day. And if I do not expend that energy on working out, I will expend it elsewhere, like overthinking or being overly critical of myself. And if I'm expending that energy mentally, it really never leads to a good place. So when I spend an hour a day working out, then all of a sudden, all of this excess energy that would normally go into worrying is just gone. I can't worry anymore, you know, I've expended that effort elsewhere. And so I can also apply this concept in other ways, right? Like I spend my time writing now, or making YouTube videos, or reading to a certain extent. I do other things that take a lot of effort, that take a lot of brain power, so at the end of the night, I can, you know, my head hits the pillow and I am out because I don't have any more energy that wants to be spent but hasn't been. You know, there's no reason for me to overthink. I'm literally not even capable of overthinking anymore because I've used all of that energy elsewhere. So we've got strength training. We've also touched on writing. Having hobbies in general is always going to be helpful. I really enjoy writing and making videos because these are things that I feel confident and competent in, and yet there's also room to grow. But I find it satisfying and I find it interesting, and that's really important with a hobby because otherwise you won't bother to make time for it. Now, not everyone is going to like this next one, and maybe it's for you, maybe it's not. That is not my call. But a huge part of my ability to overcome depression has been thanks to my relationship with God. Not all of you may know this, but I only started attending church because of my now fiance, soon to be husband in 100 days, Charlie. And you know, I was kind of interested in it before. Like I said, always been spiritual, but I've never really had an into any certain religious group, if you will. Did a yoga teacher training, didn't really feel like it was a fit. But Charlie, when I met Charlie, obviously I'm marrying him, so I was really into everything that he brought to the table. And one of those things was going to church. He has an extremely firm faith. He goes to a small, tight-knit church. And so when I started attending with him, that sense of community, and specifically spiritual community, was just incredible. To be able to gather together with people every week and hear a sermon based on our mutual values and beliefs, and then have a meal afterward. It wasn't even like these people were really doing anything, you know. We were all just showing up together, talking a little bit here and there. Slowly relationships start to develop. But it wasn't like this insane overhaul overnight. It's very, you know, slow. It was a very slow pace, very natural. And that's something that I love, because I have tried to attend other churches before. And sometimes the way that they have their greeters set up and everything, it's very, this very bombarding energy. And it's like, whoa, please just let me experience this, you know, one time. And so I think also having that in of Charlie was really helpful as well. But, along with going to church, I started reading the Bible. I started just learning more about my faith, learning more about God, and also praying more, engaging more in my relationship with God. And that has been an absolute miracle. It's been really incredible to see the changes that I have made in my life slowly over time, just because I now have a relationship with God. And my first thought, I'm so thankful now, is, oh, let me take this to the Lord over and over again. And that transformation, at the end of the day, it is God's responsibility that this happened at all. It's His responsibility that I'm here. Every choice that I've made, He is the one who is bringing me along this journey, and that is absolutely incredible. And again, it might not be for you, that I cannot say, but it was absolutely for me, and I will forever be grateful. Now, the final treatment, if you will, that was profoundly helpful for me in overcoming my existential depression is trauma healing. And this is different from therapy, because in therapy, as I mentioned, you go week after week and you talk about something new every week. You leave crying over and over again. You could go for the rest of your life. You can go to therapy for your entire life. There is no finite end date. However, I was fortunate enough to discover trauma healing method and modality. Now, the incredible thing about this modality is that it is completely finite. It's based on the 7 core traumas that everybody gets, which are guilt, shame, anxiety, grief, jealousy, feeling crazy, and hopelessness. And the way that you target each of these is that you go to the root of the first time you ever felt that way, and then you hash it out from there. And once you have gone through each one of these in order, you're done. You're good. You can say, I've cleared the trauma, done the inner child work. I can now sufficiently move on, and I don't have to continue thinking about this and rehashing it. Of course, it's not uncommon for the feelings to, come up again even after doing this process. But the incredible thing is that having done this process, I now know exactly what to do when I have one of these feelings. I trace it back to its source and I hash it out from there. And that is what I will always do from now on, because it is just so effective. So this method really changed everything for me, and the most exciting part is that I was able to do teacher training in order to become certified in doing the same method for others. So if you're interested in that, you can feel free to shoot me an email. It's Anelise@livingvolumes.com. I have to say, this healing process has taken a long time, and there are always kind of new layers and new levels that continue to come up, but I can't even describe how amazing it is to be able to see that I'm finally over the hump and I'm into the rest of my life, if you will. It's no longer about the trauma. It's no longer about the things that happened to me in the past. It's no longer about the things that I didn't get, the things that I deserved in my childhood. It's all about right now. What's happening right now, what's happening moving forward, what I want out of my future, what I want out of my life, and how I'm gonna get there. And it's amazing to see how everything is just falling in line. Right around the time I started doing this work, like clockwork, the partner came through, the man that I'm about to marry. The ideas for the business are coming through so that I won't have to work for other people anymore. The house has come through, the money has come through. It's just an incredible blessing to be here and to be able to actually tune in and be in line with the will of God, and to know that I am under the will of God, because that's really the miracle, isn't it? Being aware that you are under God's jurisdiction and not a hair can fall from your head without His will from heaven above. And once you're able to truly step into that belief, that is where the rest of your life begins. This is only the beginning for me. I'm so excited to show you all what is in store for this YouTube channel, this online space. And please do make sure to subscribe and like this video, because we are only getting started. You do not want to miss this. And how cool will it be to say, oh, Anelise, yeah, I've been following her since the very beginning. All right. Thanks, guys.